A special thanks must be given to Mr. Thesis. He sent me this B-grade Invictus specifically for review. Without him sending this to me, I would not have been able to afford tickets to a concert to see my favorite band. So I greatly appreciate the support, Mr. Thesis. Just know this does not affect the review in any way. I'll still give my honest thoughts in spite of being sent this for review. But something that I should add is that I was given a deadline of about 2 weeks to make this review, so my thoughts may not be as fleshed out or may change a bit as time goes on. Now, I've gotten the technical mumbo-jumbo out of the way. Y'all know I was sent this for review. Y'all know I was given about 2 weeks to formulate this review. So, the Invictus. This is the second aluminum monometal from Thesis, the first one being the Synthesis, aka the Sharp Fucker. Now, I've done a few reviews on a couple Thesis yo-yos. My Hypo V2 and Capo videos both praised both respective yo-yos pretty highly, but over time, I started feeling like something was missing from specifically the Hypo. When the Omniscient dropped and I got mine in the mystery box, it was the same thing. My enjoyment of the Thesis yo-yos started getting kind of spoiled. They were all starting to feel a little anemic. When the Invictus was teased, I was worried it was going to be more of the same. I wasn't particularly enthusiastic about the Invictus like I had been with other Thesis yo-yos. The shape and general observation of weight distro were all I had to go off of, and they didn't really make me feel any better about the Invictus. Besides the ski jumps are always a good thing. Then the specs were released, and it was confirmed to be 66 grams, and I started to become hopeful. The Invictus in person and in the hand actually looks a bit smaller than it really is. It's 46 millimeters wide, and it has a 56 millimeter diameter. Just by looking at it, I would have thought it was 45 by 55, but I was wrong. Upon closer inspection, I actually sort of realized I was actually kind of familiar with this shape. I wasn't sure what exactly it was until I really thought about it and looked over the yo-yo and realized something. It reminded me of the Yotrix Winter Solstice. It's just something with the way the profile curves out to the rim. It's very reminiscent, but also like it's just more rounded and comfortable in the hand. There's the cup itself, which reminded me of the SF movement. I've never played with a movement, but with all the SF hype that goes around, it's just what I immediately thought of when I looked at the hub. As I see it, the Invictus is the culmination of the direction the modern monometal has been going in for the past few years. Okay, some may hear that and may just dismiss the Invictus as a copy or an unoriginal idea, to which I ask, do you think the same about subgenres in music? When you see a generalized idea, do you actively choose to ignore the little things that actually make something different? Assuming these other companies have also had so many colors part of a single run as well. Seriously, when Thesis unveiled all of the colors that the Invictus was coming in, it reminded me of those episodes of Power Rangers where they have every single Power Ranger in one big battle. It's kind of insane how many different colors Thesis loaded this yo-yo up with. This fucker dropped this yo-yo in 3 different shades of blue. So, of course, when he approached me for a review, I picked the correct shade of blue to be sent to me. Unless you only buy yellow yo-yos specifically, in which case, seek Jesus, there's a color here for everyone. Dude, there are different shades of different colors. Don't like dark green? Get lighter green. Don't like deep purple? Get lavender. Don't like dark blue? Get bent. Unfortunately, I've heard there are some colors that have become a little limited due to certain colors being almost entirely B grades. So, speaking of B grades, I was sent a B grade, and I heard that there were a couple of issues that B grades specifically had. I heard specifically that a lot of B grades have issues involving like super tight bearing seats, and they're really hard to unscrew. I heard that some were really, really slippy on the bind, but we'll talk about those later. Those sorts of things. So, those are important things. Maintaining yo-yos is an important part of the hobby. Sometimes yo-yos need a bearing swap. Sometimes pads wear out. Whatever it may be, there's always going to be some reason to take a yo-yo apart. And the yo-yo needed to be taken apart. And it was a nightmare. The Invictus screamed at me when I took it apart. I had to put in some extra effort than some may usually have to, you know? Taking a yo-yo apart isn't exactly something you're used to having to muscle. So, I'm putting up a video on screen right now. That video you're seeing isn't mine specifically, it's my buddy EOS44's. If you don't like squeaking noises, this is your warning, it squeaks. I was worried I was stripping my Invictus, but it was fine. It was just tight as hell. So I swapped the pads, I went in to take the bearing out, and the bearing fought me hard. Got the bearing out, it was fine, swapped the pads and tried to put the bearing back in, and little shit kept fucking fighting me. The bearing seat on this Yoyo is goddamn Gorilla Grip, dude. The only way I was able to get the bearing back all the way was to place the half of the Yoyo bearing side down and push the half down into the bearing. And that was absolutely terrifying. It was fine. It squeaked at me again when I put everything back together. It was fine, and I tuned some vibe out of it, so I've been chilling. Now, something to understand is that I've heard these issues only affect the B grades, which is what I have. But it is something to be aware of, and it is something that I am obligated to mention because I'm out to be honest. An issue I was told that affects mostly B grades, but I have seen otherwise of, is the Slippy Binds the Invictus has. The entire reason I took my Invictus apart in the first place was that the bind was extremely slippy. It was rough, man. It didn't want to bind at all. I took out the stock pads and chucked in some Yoyo Factory blue pads, and now the binds are a bit better. At first, I thought maybe this was because I got a B grade, but after seeing some community reaction around the Invictus, I'm finding the slippy binds to be a common occurrence. The Invictus got an early release on the Thesis Discord server. As far as I know, they sold out. I think there was a Patreon release as well. I don't know exactly. I don't know the exactness of it all, but the Invictus is getting a public release soon, as in April 9th. So, other than the maintenance issues and the slippy bind issues, overall the Invictus has been a pleasantly surprising yo-yo. I took a break from yo-yoing for a weekend because of the calluses on my hand being completely worn through and causing me severe pain. And all throughout that weekend, I found myself eyeballing the Invictus. I always wanted to use it, even when I was out to sort of reset and cleanse my yo-yo palette. The Invictus is well built and can handle my janky, rough style of play. I'd go so far as to say it almost complements it. Just as a whole, I'd say the Invictus is a yo-yo well built for the modern competitive player. General consensus from the people I've talked to that have played with an Invictus is kind of the same. It's a fast, powerful yo-yo with the stability I expect more from a bimetal than a 6061 monometal, which in 2022 are probably the words most yo-yo review watchers are tired of hearing. It's basically like saying ice cream is sweet and creamy. Unfortunately, those are just the things that immediately come to me as a way to describe how the Invictus plays. Luckily, I can give comparisons to other yo-yos in my collection to help flesh out that idea. Of course, my baseline is the Shutter, but fortunately, I have a yo-yo that's closer in design philosophies, the Zipline and SF collab BMC, which is a prototype of the SF Cadence. Just to be completely frank, the Invictus outclasses the Shutter and the BMC in speed. With just a higher speed ceiling and an acceleration curve that makes it hit that higher speed ceiling quicker, the Invictus moves exceptionally quickly. The stability of the Shutter and the BMC can leave something to be desired when you're playing fast as well. The Invictus has the distinction of being the only one of these three yo-yos that didn't blow out during my speed combo, while also having the distinction of being the first yo-yo I really landed my rail combo at maximum speed with. I've been developing the combo for a while. Other yo-yos I've landed a beta version of the combo with were the Star Trail and the Overdrive Drop Knee, but the Invictus holds the distinction of being the first yo-yo I've landed the full final combo at maximum speed with, so that's cool. We'll see if I land it on camera. If I do, you'll know because it'll be in the video probably right now. If not, then you'll also know because it won't be in the video. I'll be honest though, this inability to land the combo on something other than the Invictus or a rim-weighted bimetal could definitely be because I haven't really practiced and smoothed out the full combo, so consider that. As for the power and the stability of the Invictus, it's almost fuck you levels of powerful and stable, which is something that some people will immediately disagree with. But for me, the power and stability make it a quality yo-yo for dense tech, especially with the large gap width. It's just going to be preventing snags. Maybe the width could cause some unwanted string catches, but in my experience, I was never affected by the width. Doing zontals with the Invictus feels good, and while I'm still a novice at zontals, I've landed difficult tricks for me like zontal skin the gerbil with the Invictus. Overall, the Invictus tends to stay on plane pretty well for a monometal, and it doesn't start to tilt back to a vertical plane. Honestly, as a whole, the Invictus feels better than the BMC and the Shutter for zontals, and along that line, the power and the stability give the Invictus immensely more presence than both of them, which helped with the control in the zontals. The combination of the two gives the Invictus an extremely notable presence on the string in spite of its just barely slightly above average 66 gram weight. A person who isn't fond of powerful string presence may call the Invictus bricky and unpleasant. Personally, as someone who doesn't care that much and is actually kinda used to it, I'd find it to place the yo-yo squarely in my comfort zone. I've been told a lot that my yo-yoing looks bad and that it lacks smoothness, and while it isn't something I'm proud of, it is something I'll own. Generally speaking, if a yo-yo can't handle the way I yo-yo, I figure out pretty quick and tend to just not play with it. But because the Invictus can handle how I play so well, it's a yo-yo I've been enjoying for a while now. Another thing the Invictus was just good at was grinds. Finger grinds go for a couple days, and the finger spins on this thing were pretty immaculate, with the finger being almost completely centered. So these things have made it so the Invictus has claimed a place on the shelf, and frequently is the first yo-yo I reach for when I just want to yo-yo for a minute or two. Other people I know have sold similar yo-yos to the Invictus, such as the Movement and the Recog, on buy-sell trade due to it being a yo-yo they just enjoy more. With so many colors and a huge first run, the Invictus shouldn't be having the availability issues that plague the Movement and Recog as well. Overall, my verdict of the Invictus is it's a great yo-yo with a focus on the qualities and features the modern competitive player would likely value in a monometal. Certain people may be turned off by its notable presence or competitive focus, but all in all, I enjoy mine. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to Mr. Thesis for sending this out for review.